sound check's all good and everything? Hello and welcome back to the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. This time it is Melbourne Victory taking on the Preston Lions here at the home of the Matildas to round out Female Football Week here at the home of the Matildas.
Down to have a watch. How's Ash been the last few days?
Yeah, she's landed.
Yeah. She showed us the message saying she landed and everything. So that was cool.
Better the devil you know.
I'll see you before we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
What we doing up? What we doing at the top level? We play soccer? Yeah. Like, okay, that was nice to have a lot. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NPL Victoria. It's round 13 here, home of the Matildas. And a bit of a special occasion as well here, as Sab Saban reaches her 100th NPL women's game as a match official with the Guard of Honour. She's joined by Daphne Gunaris, Helena Paniododis and Nicoletta Soteropoulos. And, of course, it is Santia Kaduro's final game as NPL Women's head coach of the Melbourne Victory, who has an opportunity abroad. We will run through the lineups for you. For the home side, Melbourne Victory, here at the home of the Matildas, in between the sticks is number 1, Chloe McKenzie. Number 4, Mila Bulik. Number 5, Jade Tam. Number 6 and captain is Erin Tarrant. Number 12, Alice Franku. Number 13, Anika Dolston. Number 14, Faye Yara. Number 17, Poppy O'Keefe. Number 18, Jasmine Miller. Number 21, Emily Rutkovsky. And number 27, Rosie Curtis. For the visitors, Preston Lions do line up in their traditional red. Who will be in between the sticks, Charlotte Horrison. Number 7, Natalie Olsen. Number 10, Dragana Klajic. Number 16, Alana Filipovic. Number 22, Ava Harrington. Number 30, Holly Massey. Number 35, Mizuho Yamada. Number 41, Navaline Kaur. Number 44, Valentine Percy. Number 48, Ava Papaleo. And number 55, Erica Detella. Captain today for the Preston Lions is Valentine Percy. Absent from the squad is the ever-present Georgia Henderson, who also missed midweek's clash against Manningham United in the Nike Cup, that 5-0 win over there. Also absent in the Melbourne Victory, the A-League girls have not entered the play just yet. And just a special mention there for Shab Shaban with their 100th NPL women's game. It's quite a good turnout as well for a fixture like this. Of course, round 13, rounding out Female Football Week. As things stand as well, according to the table, it is Melbourne Victory who sit in 9th and Preston Lions who sit in 11th. 6 points apart from each other. So, of course, the window is open as well. And no particularly new signings on for Preston Lions, and Melbourne Victory are without their A-League girls in Nat Pishak, Jess Young, Sienna Zaveska, Sina Teixeira and Laura Pickett. Of course, on the bench for them is Kat Mule, Mika Regev, Emmy Trainer, Violet Hall, Anastasia Simic. On the bench for the Preston Lions, Amelia Kibbo, Sordana Kyriakidis, Victoria Momorovsky, Isabella Trubiano, Adelia Papaleo and Yasmin Popovic. Also absent for Preston Lions is Eli Talevsky, did do a PCL injury a couple of weeks ago. Of course, as mentioned, Valentine Percy with the captain's armband. 4 goals to her name this year, including one midweek against Manningham in the Cup. Means they do progress into the next round of that game. Here at the home of the Matildas, round 13. We're underway. And it goes backwards by Holly Massey. And then over out wide to Klajic. And a long ball. Tries to find Olsen in behind, but manages to go all the way over to Doveston. And then over to Bullock. And it's picked up by Massey again. And it's chipped over the top, and Valentine Percy can go all the way through to Mackenzie, but he's picked it up in between the sticks. And it's now gone over to Tam. And then back over to her centre back in Curtis. Of course, did quite a role to play in Melbourne Victory season this year, and the senior women's rather. As Doveston's nearly brought down, and Franku goes over to Rutkowski now. And Rutkowski can drive down the line, cuts in between and cross the ball in, back post. Chance to leaping effort, and goes all the way out for a goal kick. Of course, in between the sticks for Preston Lions, Charlotte Horrison did spend some time at FE Academy. We do know that most of these girls in this Victory side did come through that system. of course, they've technically never played each other. Melbourne Victory and Preston Lions. Of course, they have in previous years under different name set in FE Emerging, but it's going to be taken down the line now by Miller. It will be Yamada just ushers the ball out of play and just throw down the line by Detella. Of course, also absent is Olivia Edwards, who I've been told has done a hamstring injury. Should be back next week, but Rosie Curtis is under pressure by Nat Olsen and goes all the way back to Mackenzie. Here's Bullock now. He goes down the line and tries to find Iara. And he's Olsen now out wide, across into Percy. And then just not enough on that as Curtis clears and goes back out to Filipovic. And he's a cross in by Papaleo. Backwards, all the way. And off, and it'll be a throw. Preston Lions. And it's a long throw in. Around Percy, around Olsen, who crosses the ball over the face of the goal and just gets pushed out for another goal kick. Of course, we don't quite know where Santi Escudero will be moving to. It's an opportunity abroad, you would assume, in women's football, but Jeff Hopkins will take charge of the team following this game. He's sitting on the bench today, listed on the team sheet, as Clake goes over to Massey and taken down, but she gets the ball back and goes all the back over to Detella. Here's Yamada. Now over to Rahorison. He's a former Preston Lions player herself as well, Charlotte Rahorison. Of course, did have those couple of years in the FB Academy system before moving back to Preston for more senior minutes. And here's Claych again, and cleared off Tam. Of course, also on the bench for Melbourne Victory is Emma Checker, from a Melbourne Victory player herself. And that's Olsen. Knocks it on to Miller. And then back now to Neveline Kaur. And then back again. Of course, quite a good coaching staff, this Melbourne Victory side. Malish validation. And here's Victory with a chance to break through now. And Miller will go on the outside and try across the face of goal. Over out wide again. And strike by Emily Rakovsky. And again, out for a goal kick. There's Manish Vadalasham, strength and conditioning coach, Stephanie Gresh, Harley Hamdani, Mark Spriteri, and Reed Mulholland. Of course, Emma Checker is there as well, team manager. Looks like Jenna Teixeira is in attendance today as well at this game. She's just locating herself behind that home bench at the home of the Matildas, pitch 1. And sent on by Tarrant. Cross by Tam, and then over to Bullock. Managed to go out wide now. And it's getting cleaned up by Papaleo. On to Massey. Massey with a drive now. Gets pulled back by Doveston, but the through ball sent through to Nat Olsen. 1-on-1 with the keeper, Nat Olsen, who goes near post, and it's a great save by Chloe McKenzie. And it looks like it is a goal kick. Didn't quite get a touch to that one, Chloe McKenzie, but it's a great through ball through by Holly Massey into Nat Olsen. the Thailand native. And there's a drive now by Poppy O'Keefe. Over to Bullock. And then down the line to Doveston. Over to Bullock again. The ball over the top to Ioria. Again, who will cross the ball in. She did score similar. Ioria! And goes all the way across, and it's going to be a throw now with Aaron Tarrant. Of course, captain today. Charlotte Rahorison also spent some time as captain last season when Ava Guzniel did leave the club rather, and moved over to South Melbourne along with Eva Kokotis. And she did don that captain's armband for that second half of the year. Starting goalkeeper now, of course. And it will be Yamada, who goes along to Olsen. He's Percy, back over to Tam. Slots it through to O'Keefe. And then Doveston to Bullock. And then Bullock will go out wide to Ioria. And then back now. And that was off Playich. And then over to Teller, and here's Percy. Ooh, sorry, nice back heel to try find Harrington. And then all the way backwards. Tam. Out wide once again. Doesn't quite keep the ball in. She does. And here's Doveston once again. Over to Tarrant. Over the top by Tarrant to Rutkovsky. And again, all the way through. Of course, head coach of Preston Lions, Adam College. A successful stint they've had, I guess, in the NPL system since coming up. Come up in 2022 and have been in and around the mid-table area. They did finish 9th last year, but 2nd the year before, 6th the year before that. As it's headed on by Detella. And there's Tarrant again, who's taken off the ball by Massey, and the ball's gone all the way out into the grandstand. And here's Miller over to Franku, and then over to Tarrant again, who feeds the feet of Olsen. And she's done well to clean that one back up, as Massey will look to go out to Detella. Still Detella. Again, it's over to Percy. Over to Yamada. Back over to Core. And that's Ioria. Just running down the line, cleared by Core. Here's Bullock behind. Wants to get in front of Papaleo, and then here's O'Keefe now. He'll find Miller. Back over to Doveston, who strikes some distance, and backing out of Tam. And here's Percy. All over the top by Percy to Olsen again, and she's in the same position as last time. Goes a bit more wide, and Nat Olsen will look behind her to Holly Massey. Still Holly Massey. With the cross. Round. And crossed in for a chance for a header, and Papaleo's now there. And cleared by Bullock. Back the other way. And here's Bullock. Back to Harrington, and then the other way out to O'Keefe. And here's Tarrant. Long ball down the line to Rutkovsky. Of course, Timor-Leste native, Emily Rutkowski, was called up to their national team setup. Anyone really here with senior women's international appearance, but of course that one, Lana Filipovic, who in the midfield now, called up to the youth sides of Croatia, the 17s women's Euros appearance for Croatia during her time at Bulleen Lions. There will be another throw. And just 12 minutes on the clock here as well. At home of the Matildas. Will be another throw. Headed on. And back to Harrington, who goes all the way back to Filipovic. There's Yamada. We'll drive and find Detella. Back to Yamada. Over to Massey. And then over to Core. Again with the long ball over to Valentine Percy. Strike from distance. It is by Dragana Klajic. It's very, very close, but over the bar by the former South Melbourne player. There's Miller back to O'Keefe. And then Curtis. Over to Mackenzie. And here's Tam. Through to Toveston. Down the line to Rutkowski. Driving by Rutkowski. And here's Iria. Knocks the ball on. Strike. Range. And Rahorison with the beautiful save. Tam, who knocks the ball off Tarrant. And it will be Detella. All over the top, headed by Tarrant. Back to Filipovic. Over to Rutkowski. Here's Doveston. Over to Miller. Who doesn't quite get there in time, but does again manage to get the ball out for another throw. A lot of Alameen presence today at this game for some reason. Just seen John Kyrgios and Nev Dustin turn up. Potentially some scouting. And it's sent on by O'Keefe. And then back offside is Emily Rutkowski. And it'll be Yamada will get us back underway. Of course, I did mention absent from this squad today is the likes of Ellie Lamont, Georgia Henderson and Rhiannon Looney. Olsen headers to Klajic. And here's Detella who turns down the line. And needs to find Olsen, but the ball's been pushed out. Here's Aaron Tarrant again. Back over to Rutkowski and Massey. It's one over her and turns around. Here's Olsen now. Back to Klajic and then over to Percy, who once again tried to feed Nat Olsen, but and that's it. First big call by Shabshabana on 100th today, and that's taken quickly by Tam. Over to Iria. Back to her now by Bullock. And here's Doveston. O'Keefe. Back over to Bullock. And Cutson's fired to first on the second one, and Bullock has a chance to cross, goes backwards behind it. Over to O'Keefe. Into the middle. Sent off to Miller, and then all the way over the top by Olsen, and again by Doveston. Is Miller, and that's handball is the call. Yamada will take this one. So we can move on with Yamada now. We'll try to find Percy over the top. First time with the captain's armband today, Valentine Percy. Of course, usually Georgia Henderson has the armband. She did miss this game and midweek due to an unknown reason. And really ever present in this side. Coming through the youth ranks at Bowling Lions and in quite a long period of time at Preston Lions, and it's knocked on by Miller. Back to Olsen, who's knocked the ball onto Klajic. Here's Curtis now, who will keep going herself off to O'Keefe. And now Olsen again. Over to Harrington. Backwards by Harrington. Here's Core. Over to Harrison. Yamada. As you can see as well, the Melbourne Victory warming up with their strength and conditioning coach, Manish. Of course, quite a keen runner in his youth days, the strength and conditioning coach. So it's in trusted hands, these Melbourne Victory girls. As Nat Olsen finds her way through with two defenders in front of her, and it's pushed off the ball by Tam. She does manage to get in front of Rosie Curtis there, but here's Tarrant now. Back over to Doveston. O'Keefe. Back to Tarrant, and then over to Curtis. One of the oldest people in this side as well, Rosie Curtis, just 21 years of age. Pretty young squad. This Melbourne Victory side, of course, made up of their academy players. And that's a great ball down the line by O'Keefe, but not going to be good enough for Mila Bullock. Of course. Hand to Windsor, of course, is open. We've seen already some mid-season signings have already made their impact as well. We saw Clancy Westaway and Alana Shern make their NPL women's debut for South Melbourne earlier this weekend. Of course, Clancy Westaway, a former FE emerging player herself, spent some time at Perth Glory. Alana Cern, of course, former Wanderer and Western United. And here's Rutkowski now. Down the line. Get around to Erica Detella. Gets in front of her. Goes backwards all the way to Franku. Long to send all the way through to Rutkowski, who just heavy touches it all the way to Erica Detella. Back to Yamada. Franku. Back over again to O'Keefe. And here's Percy now, who Olsen's offside. Good vision by the captain for today, Valentine Percy, but just offside, of course. 4 goals to her name this season, Valentine Percy, as well as Nat Olsen. Came over from Wellington United over in the New Zealand Central League. Alongside Summer Lasky from Alamein. And that's Datello who knocks it out of play. Sends on to Rutkovsky. Ball sent across to Area. He will go around the first and strike from distance. That's a great goal. Melbourne Victory open the scoring. Area makes it 1-0. So great setup by Emratovsky as well. Of course, she's been scoring for fun this campaign. 6 goals in just the 10 games for her. Did score last week in the Nike Cup, but 6 goals to her name so far. And it's back to Yamada. Of course, did come through the footballing system over in GV Suns as Valentine Percy manages to just find some space out wide and heads it over to Klage. Again, over to Doveston and Detella. And it's a long ball over the top to find Area once again. Who gets around to Ava Harrington for a second. It's a great save by Rahorison, but it's still in play. Backwards through the legs of Filipovic. And this is O'Keefe now. Back over to Area. And then is O'Keefe. Pushed off the ball by Massey. And out for a throw. The goal scorer, Area, boys football at GV Suns until she was about 15. Did move over to Canberra United as well for a brief period, playing in their youth system over there. Now here, she's been to Victoria last 2 seasons as Erin Tarrant just waits for the ball to go all the way through. And looks like there's already a change getting ready to come on for Melbourne Victory. Very early already. Of course, just 25 minutes on the clock and it's already a change here that potentially will come on. And it's going to be made. It's going to be Poppy O'Keefe coming off for Cat Mule. Spent last season at South Melbourne. Cat Mule enters the pitch, 25 minutes in. Just the 2 goals to her name this season as well. None of them coming in senior women's football, but it's a ball sent in again to Area and his Rutkovsky. Back down to Doveston. Goes out wide. It's the ball. It's a great ball across the face into the arms of Charlotte Rahorison. Has been pretty much playing 2 games a week since the start of the season. Catherine Moore, of course, eligible for those under 20 side as well, as Jasmine Miller just goes down. Just did score in that 11-0 win Melbourne Victory had over Heidelberg United in that under 20s, and scored in a 4-2 win against Hillel Park. That's gone all the way through now. Nat Olsen's once again by herself. Is the teller along the floor, but Papaleo just manages to go all the way through to Chloe McKenzie. Here's Rutkovsky now. He finds Fiaria out wide. It's into the box. The chance for the victory, and it's cleared once again. Only as far as Frankie from range, and that's going to be a corner. There is a player on the floor for Preston Lions. Will be Jade Tam to take it. Ball sent in. That's for a header, but Franco's on the edge of the box and it's cleared. Seven goals for Phi Ioria now. And here's Olsen, who finds Papaleo. Will feed the ball over to Percy. And backheeled to Papaleo. Sends it into the goal, but it's offside. There's a good link-up play there by the Lions. Sent out by McKenzie. Back over now to Tam. And then Long. It's just started raining here as well in Bandura. Not going to be a ideal situation for either side, but of course both sides currently struggling with a little bit of injury. Just still 1-0 to the Melbourne victory as well in Santi's last game as head coach of this side before Jeff Hopkins takes charge, and Rutkovsky's through, but chasing. And does manage to keep the ball in. And finds Doveston. And out to Rand, who crosses the ball in. Headed. And out. Of course, Poppy O'Keefe leaving the pitch in place of Catherine Mule. Yet to score a senior goal at this sort of level, but as Papaleo goes all the way over the top to Olsen again, who finds himself in the same position as last time, chipped and over the bar for a corner deflection. Ioria and Jasmine Miller share the top goal scorers list with 7 goals apiece after today. Equal goals scored. They tend to not struggle with goals either, this Melbourne victory side, even though they do sit kind of mid-table in that. And it's going to be sent into the middle of the park by corner. Sent in by Claich. Backheeled by Holly Massey, and again over the top, and almost an audacious effort. And out for another corner. And once again, another corner for Preston Lions. And it's sent in far. Cleared by Rutkovsky. Here's Area now. And all the way backwards to Filipovic. And then all the way capturing for a throw in. And turns by Ava Harrington. And then backwards once again by Doveston. Over to Mackenzie. And then through to Doveston. Over to Tam. Still through to Tam, who goes the attempted pass wide. There will be another throw for the Lions. About 35 minutes played here at the home of the Matildas. 1-0 is the scoreline for the team in navy blue. Of course, the final game of this Female Football Week initiative as well. So, results have already been set, apart from this game, of course. So, implications on the league table this will have, as Tam sends it out wide to Tarrant. And finds Moole. Over to Doveston. Moole again. And here's Tarrant. He will just ever so slightly send the ball in and off the head of Jasmine Miller, but Harrison gets in front of it. And Percy now chasing. Back over to Noel. Backwards now to Tarrant. We'll feed Noel again. And then over to Tarrant, who's dispossessed. Does the second effort, and Claich just gets dispossessed once again, and here's Bullock. Of course, a Melbourne victory win here would move them up to 7th place. A win by 2 or more will move them to 6th above Alamein. And that's Papaleo. Twin sister does sit on the bench as well. Ava Papaleo. Of course, Adelia. And Rutkovsky's almost through. Harrison just hits someone out. Next week as well, this Melbourne Victory side play Bulleen Lions here at home of the Matildas. And backwards. Of course, this Preston Lions side do face Heidelberg at home. It's been 5 games undefeated for this Preston Lions side as well. A 5-0 win against Manningham, of course, in the Cup, but a 5-3 win against Bulleen Lions, a 1-1 draw against Essendon Royals, and 3-0 win against Melbourne City, 2-2 draw against Keilor Park. Of course, it's an undefeated streak that goes back into March 2028. In round 7 against Bulleen Lions. Melbourne Victory lost their last 2, Essendon Royals and Alamein, as well as a 5-0 win against Bentley Greens, a 3-2 win against Burundara Eagles, and a 4-1 win over Spring Hills. The ball's sent back out. Of course, as mentioned, they do move up to 7th place, top 6 making finals. You would think they would climb a bit higher up the table as well once those A-League girls get up and going. It's backwards by Miller, and then here's Dragana Klaic again, who just sends the ball through to Victory goalkeeper. And he's Tarrant. He goes along to striker in Doveston through to Harrison. Pretty cool goalkeeper as well for Preston Lions. And love me a really nice goalkeeper top to look at, and it's something of quite nice nature, of course. Can't remember who quite their keeper provider is. Umbro, I think it would be, but done quite well, it seems. There's Nat Olsen knocks it on. Ali Massey. Back over now to Franku. Doveston. Here's Moole. Goes out wide to Tarrant. Crossed by Tarrant. Over the top of everyone. And still in. And picked up by Harrison, but it's out for a goal kick. "38 minutes played here at home of the Matildas." Of course, it's this Preston Lions side that did go down against Bentley Greens relatively earlier. It was Kate Bennett who scored a 33rd minute winner, or opening goal for them, followed by 4 straight goals by Preston Lions that made them lead 4-1 60 minutes in. Went down to 4-3 and then 5-3. Eva Papaleo, who really shored up that result there. Of course, that 5-0 win midweek against Preston Lions. It was Valentine Percy, Eva Papaleo with a double, and Mizuho Yamada with the 5th goal of that day. Of course, Victory played in that Nike Cup game as well midweek. It was a 2-1 loss to Western Royals. Percy knocks it on. Gets it over to O'Keefe and then backwards now. Here's Filipovic. Back to Yamada. To Core. And over to Yamada once again, who goes out to Lana Filipovic. The ball sent all the way through to Chloe McKenzie, who lets it go early. Once over to Yamada's head. And he's Franku. Harrington. Back by Harrington and over to Core. To Yamada. It was Iria that scored midweek against Essendon Royals. It wasn't enough for them, but Sienna Teixeira also played in that game for the Victory. Of course, won the Young Victory medalist, you could call it, the scholarship award over there. Pretty similar squad to what they're playing with today, apart from, of course, Sienna, but just a 2-1 loss there. As Rutkowski goes back to Tarrant. Over to Miller. Backwards. She goes to Tam. Tam goes into the middle and finds Miller once again. He will drive herself and put the ball through to Charlotte Harrison, the former FV Academy player herself. And that's ball sent in. Headed on by Claich. Back to Rosie Curtis. And then out long to Iria. He'll cut backwards, and Ava Harrington's having a little bit of trouble there dealing with Fiorina Iara, but There will be another corner. Jade Tam to take, and the Rains really picked it up here at home of the Matildas on Shab Shaban's 100th game in the NPL Women's. No other woman in this competition has ever reached that amount of games, and of course we know that she did that NPL Women's final as well between Box Hill and Heidelberg that day. Karina Rossi double as Jade Tam gets the ball ready for the corner and goes in. Headed by Curtis. Almost all the way through, but will be another corner. It's everyone back for Preston Lions as well in this corner. Just Erin Tarrant, who sits on the halfway line. Chloe McKenzie keeping Nat Pishak out of the squad. In goal. Sent in by Tam. Headed, but cleared by everyone, but not out of danger as it's sent in by Franku off the crossbar. At least Franku. And Charlotte Rojo got a touch to it, but out for a goal kick. And it's been very lucky not to be 3 or 4-0 here, home of the Matildas. Of course, Preston's had a couple opportunities in their own respect. Nat Olsen's got in behind the Victory defence quite a few times, and there's another chance for Victory now. And Marita Rutkovsky. Backwards to Tarrant. Finds Rutkovsky again. Over to Tarrant. There's Rutkovsky. Sends the through ball through to Yamada, who clears. Here's Percy now. Gets in front of Tam. He pushes it over to Norwell. And here's Bullock. Over to Franku. Then backwards now is Massey. Turned by Bullock, who sends Bullock down the line and goes to Rahorison, who sends the ball out to Franku. Back by Franku, who tries to slot it through to Tarrant, but is Valentine Percy now, who tries to feed the ball through to Nat Olsen, and Jade Tam's there to send the ball to Rutkovsky. But they've got another chance now, and here's Papaleo. Over to Olsen. Got to get around Rosie Curtis. Go backwards. It's 1 minute added on here at the home of the Matildas. Nicoletta Soteropoulos, who they stopped the board as the fourth official. And it will be Preston Lions throw. Just 1 minute added on here at the home of the Matildas. Throwing down the line. Cleared by Tarrant, and here's Filipovic. Again, sends it through to Percy. Over the top to Olsen. Nat Olsen with the strike. It's a great save by McKenzie, but it's not over yet. It's sent in by Papaleo, and here's Percy now, who's offside only just. And you'd think that would be pretty much the end of the half now at the home of the Matildas. 1-0 Melbourne Victory lead. And that's it. Half time here at the home of the Matildas. It's 1-0 by way of Fiorina Ayaria. And everyone's running back to the change rooms as the rain just about starts to kick off. We'll be back in 15 minutes time for some more NPL women's action. And we're back underway here at the home of the Matildas. It's still 1-0 to the Melbourne Victory. Area with the goal. Separates the two sides here in Santi Escuduro's final game as head coach before he heads overseas for an opportunity abroad. And that's Core who manages to just get in front of her. And goes back the other way now. And that's Horrison. Over to Olsen. And then all the way back, but she retrieves the ball herself and tries to find Massey, but finds Alice Franco. Here's Dobeston. Over to Moole. And then back to Tam. He finds Tarrant. Find over to Franco. And here's Franco still. Tries to line up a shot and goes across to Jasmine Miller, but she's struck from distance by Moole and into the arms of Charlotte Horrison. As Yamada goes short. Along the floor by Horrison into Massey, but back over to Franco. And Franco again. Here's the teller. He'll go all the way through to Papaleo. Then sends it all the way back to Chloe McKenzie. We'll go to Rosie Curtis now. And into Bullock. It's a great ball by Bullock, but can't find Emily Witkowski. And then it's a long ball sent down by Horrison into Holly Massey. Doveston. The room in front of her drive, and Doveston will strike. And that's a safe save by Horrison. Into Yamada, over to Horrison. And then Core. And a long ball, and looks like it will feed it out in front of Valentine Percy. It was Bullock there with the throw. And back to her, who got another opportunity. Headed on by Claich and pushed off the back of Jasmine Miller and Harrington. Over to Massey in his maul now. Over to Franco. And here's Tarrant. And it's a ball sent in on the floor by Area, and Horrison will go to Yamada. Off to Olsen. Off the back of Jade Tam. And then back the other way now for Victory, who's had a lot of control over this game. And Doveston strike and cleared by Detella. And only as far as Area. Out wide to Tarrant, who will cross the ball in. Tarrant and find Miller, who gets the ball behind her. It's pulled off the ball is Nat Olsen. Over to Bullock. To Rutkowski. It's great footwork by Rutkowski, who strikes over the bar by Emily Rutkowski. Will be another goal kick now. And it's been all Victory in its opening 5 minutes of this half. As Bullock finds Miller. cuts the ball back and finds Iria out wide. He will cut on the inside, go on the outside, and the opposite foot, and gets taken down by Massey. And here's Klajic. And then that's a great stop by Tarrant. And ball sent through to Rutkowski, who manages to almost keep the ball in, and she does. She's got to get around Navleen Kaur, and she goes backwards. But that's Klajic again who gets in front. And Valentine Percy now will head back the other way. And the ball sent over the top to Nat Olsen, and Chloe McKenzie pushes that one out for a throw. Looks like Chloe McKenzie's in a little bit of pain as well now. And she's up on her feet. Will be Ava Harrington. Is Harrington, goes back the other way, and it will be her throw once again. Ava Harrington to Percy, and backwards, but Bullock goes to Kaur and over to Klajic. And then here's Rutkowski, who is dispossessed and finds Doveston across to Tarrant and unleashes Iria down the line. She's got numbers in the box, really, but goes herself into the arms of Charlotte Horrison, the former teammate. Of course, these two have never faced each other in this current format of Melbourne Victory, but that's Ava Harrington who will go through to Valentine Percy, who gets a foot on it but knocks it out of play. Of course, looking for the bench for Preston Lion, it's Yasmin Popovic, Adelia Papaleo, Victoria Momorovsky, Isabella Trubiano, Jordana Kyriakidis, and goalkeeper Amelia Kibel, who came on last week against Manningham United in the Cup. And here's Rutkowski now. Bounced off Ava Harrington. On the bench for Victory, it's Emmy Traynor, Violet Hall, Mika Rezev, Shaylee Lane, and Anastasia Simic. Of course, Catherine Mule has already come on in place of Poppy O'Keefe, as Bullock goes to Doveston. It's a long ball by Doveston, but picked up by Erica Detella. And Irene now has got a chance for a cross. Bit of a dummy dive there by Charlotte Rohr-Horrison, and it is her goal kick. Lots of Victory senior women in attendance as well at this game, as well as a few juniors. As mentioned, the transfer window will be open for these sides until next Sunday, the 23rd. And that's sent on to Bullock, who will take the throw again. 55 minutes played, no goals still, of course. That opening goal by Fiorina Iara, but and it's pushed off by Holly Massey, and will be another throw in with Mila Bullich. Over to Doveston. Sprayed by Doveston, beautiful turn, and tries to get in front of Hervé Papaleo and gone back out. course, 3 points on Santi Escuduro's final game as head coach of this side before they have to look for a replacement. Jeff Hopkins will take charge until the remainder of the season. And we know what a manager he is as well. Multiple grand final appearances. Of course, their arch rivals in Melbourne City did win the treble last night against Wellington Phoenix. And that's Navaline Kaur, who's under pressure by Jasmine Miller, and Rahorison goes long to Percy. Here's Tam. He finds Ioria. And it back out for another goal kick. And the rain seems to have cleared up now at the home of the Matildas. Melbourne Victory kicking to that cemetery side of home of the Matildas. Of course, we saw for the men's and women's NPL Grand Finals, the Doherty Cup and the Nike Cup final, we had that temporary grandstand behind the goal and these boards that are out as well. And the ball sent through to Bullich, who will cut back, and that's a great stop, who finds Emily Rutkovsky. Again, backwards. She's got Dragana Klanic to get around, and she does manage a cross in to the arms of Rahorison. Offside, apparently, is the call as well. And it's a long ball sent by Rahorison. Cleared by Klanic. And here's Nat Olsen now, who gets a bit of a miscommunication with Valentine Percy. And then here's Rutkovsky with the long ball over to Ioria. She can get her second here, and she strikes first time. Just wide of the far post. She almost got her second of the day. Charlotte Rahorison will get us back on the way. The former FE Academy player herself. She does go long to find Dragana Klajic and shouts for a handball off Erica Detella, but Fee Ioria goes the other way, and here's Rutkovsky on the edge of the box, who will go into the middle, find Jasmine Miller, and tries the turn, who's taken down, and it's a strike. It's a great save by Charlotte Rahorison. And it's a long ball by her as well now, who finds the head of Nat Olsen. And it's Rosie Curtis now, who will find Erin Tarrant, the former young Matilda, who finds a teammate ahead of her and goes through to the goalkeeper once again. Over to Valentine Percy. And it's a long ball again down the line to Nat Olsen, who's got Rosie Curtis and tries first time, who pushes it into the arms of Chloe McKenzie. Over to Bullich. And Rutkovsky's late to the ball, and Eva Harrington will go the other way. And inside. Great stop by Rosie Curtis. And Rutkovsky's got another chance to avenge that. And pushed out to a throw in by Alana Filipovic. Of course, there's just one more NPL men's game that remains as well in this week of football. It's South Melbourne Hellas taking on the Caroline Springs George Cross at Lakeside tomorrow night. Of course, it's just been confirmed as well that that side will play Vanuatu in the OFC Pro League semi-final. As Ava Harrington knocks the ball on to Nat Olsen. Headed down by Tam, and it's taken down. No free kick it is for Holly Massey. And Bullich will go to Doveston and over to Aaron Tarrant now, who will find Ioria. And she tries a little ball on the outside, and that's a great ball to herself, and chance for a cross, and goes all the way back to Doveston with a strike into the Horison's arms by Alice Franku. It's Valentine Percy again, collected by Bullich. Still no changes for Preston Lions either, 1-0 down in this game. They look very troubled in that midfield without George Henson and Ellie Lamont, but Ava Harrington goes backwards to Franku and then Tarrant, who will find Doveston. Over to Rutkovsky. And then cleared by Navaline Kaur to Percy, to Massey, and then back out. Looks like one of the Victory players just has to exit the page due to a blood nose, I think that is. We'll play with 10 for now. If they want to get something out of this game, it's probably right now as Holly Massey does turn. Ball's kept in by Percy. Is Klejc. And taken down is Doveston. And here's Bullich. Finds once again Doveston in the middle. He's pulled back, and on 100th game, Shab Shaban's taking all authority there. And it'll be Jade Tam with this free kick here. Here's Tam. Tries to find Fai Ioria, but goes back to Doveston. Crossed by Doveston. Strike by Miller. Into the back of the net by Jasmine Miller. And it's 2-0 to Melbourne Victory. It's the 8th for the season as well. Preston Lions are 2-0 down. Here at the home of the Matildas in round 13. All right, 63 minutes on the clock here, and Preston Lions yet to make this first change for them. Second would be for Melbourne Victory, who Catherine Miller came on in place of Poppy O'Keefe. Yamada will send the ball through. Cleared off by Tam and through by Franku, who finds Miller once again. And it's a quick turn, but Harrison just gets it over to Erica Datella. Down the line to Franku, who will go from distance, Doveston. And back out for another goal kick. And looks like a change will be getting ready for Preston Lions. This player just warming up in front of us. That's ball sent long by Rahorson. Headed on by Rutkovsky. Here's Olsen, who sends Papaleo. And she's got Percy in front of her, and Rosie Curtis gets in front and goes back the other way. And still Rosie Curtis. Long ball down the line to Iria. Will go herself and cut through, and it's a late save by Harrison. And a goal kick. And a change would also come on for Melbourne Victory. Looks like it'll be Emmy Traynor. And of course now it's Dolliston who goes through to the goalkeeper. Picks the ball up, and it's a long ball over to Rosie Curtis over the top of her, to Bullich, to Percy, who will find Holly Massey. Over to Harrington, and Percy's through with numbers in the box. Percy with the cross. Dragana Cage just doesn't quite get there in time, and goes all the way through to Tarrant, who finds Iria. Back to Franku, and then all the way long. Here's Miller. Found the first by Miller with the strike, and once again another save by Harrison. And it's a bit of a late kick for Charlotte Harrison, and a change will come on. It's Emmy Traynor coming on for Alice Franku. And coming on for Preston Lions is number 12, Yasmin Popovic, replacing Alana Filipovic. Of course, Yasmin Popovic signed from Maitland United over in the northern New South Wales. It's just three senior women's appearances for Emmy Traynor. She's got the one goal this season in that under-20s game against Heidelberg. Yet to score a senior goal, but she does start here, the 16-year-old Emmy Traynor. Headed on by Bullich. Here's Null to find Miller, but here's Rutkovsky, who will have Ava Harrington to get around. And she doesn't, but goes back now to another throw with Mila Bullich. And it's not a fair enough throw, but Dragana Klage manages to clear it, and Percy's on the halfway line by herself and tries to find Nat Olsen, who's offside, but is Ava Papaleo, who again feeds Nat Olsen again, who's offside, but of course Alice Franco did leave that pitch there. Top goal scorer in that under 17s national championships, as well as a junior Matilda representative. Does leave the pitch. 2 goals to her name this season, as Harrington goes along to Massey. So still Massey with a chance for a cross. Nat Olsen. It's a great save by Mackenzie. And Nat Olsen's having a very difficult day in front of net, as Bullich now will drive to Rutkovsky, and then Miller over to Traynor. Here's Tarrant, who will try to feed Iria, but it's Popovic, cleared by Claich. It's Percy now who will find Harrington and then go long, but cleared by Anika Doveston. And it's Harrington now take the throw over to Massey. Pushed on by Rutkovsky and over to Miller. Got Core in front of her. Manages to just push it all the way back to Bullich. Over to Miller. Back by Miller. Oh, and chipped off the ball, and it will be a free kick now for girls in blue. Just 20 minutes to play now in this clash here as well. Did say that magical 3-0 scoreline would mean that they would jump up into a finals position, this Melbourne Victory side. And it will be Jade Tam who will take this free kick. Here's Tam. Over the top of everyone and all the way out for another goal kick. He's had a lot of touches of the ball today, Charlotte Horrison. Against her former side, technically. Of course, formerly of FV Emerging. Did play for Preston Lions before that, but second choice goalkeeper at Preston Lions before moving to a full-time role at FV Emerging. And pretty safe pair of hands as well, as it goes over the top to Doveston. Backwards by Popovic. Cleared to Massey, who will feed Valentine Percy. And strikes some distance, Percy, and goes wide of the far post. And does the former Women's National League champion. Also spent some time in the NCAA Division 1. Valentine Percy. Looks like Fi Ayara just leaving that pitch. Looks like to be in a bit of a spot of bother. And it's a bit of a missed kick to Valentine Percy, but Bullich now, who will go all the way back to Rosie Curtis and then over to Bullock again, who just manages to push that ball out of play to Percy, and his Massey deflected off Moole and out for a corner. And looks like Irie is back to ready to come on. And it's Holly Massey with the corner now. Cross comes in. And she'll have another opportunity now and goes on the outside of her boot this time to head her on to Popovic and back to Navaline Kaur, who just manages to fall over. Through to Nat Olsen again, and Chloe McKenzie gets down easy. And back to Trainer, over to McKenzie, through to Curtis. And taken down, but here's Massey, and it will be another free kick to Melbourne Victory. Alam Khalid is just there on the bench for Preston Lions. Seems to be at a bit of a loss of what to do here and get back in this game. It's not a great result when you look at the scheme of the season. It's a big 6-pointer in terms of that bottom half of the table, but Just without Jordan Henderson in that midfield, it's a bit difficult to really break down as Erica Detella goes all the way through to Mackenzie. Over now to Tam. Mackenzie through to Iria. All the way back to Miller. Through to now Iria, who will go out wide to Bullich. She can drive. Bit of a heavy touch through the legs of Ava Harrington. Here's Rutkovsky will strike. Again, it's a great save by Harrison. Straight at her. Through to Yamada. Again to Kaur, who finds Popovic. To Massey now. Yamada. To Detella. Lets the ball go out in front of her. It will be Erin Tarrant. This time now, just under 15 minutes left here at the home of the Matildas. Rain's almost stopped. It's drizzling a little bit now. As it's 2-0 lead to Melbourne Victory. Sent into the middle of the park. Cleared on by Dragana Klajic and chased by Trainer. It's quick feet by Trainer, who goes out wide to Bullich. It's deflected off and will be a Preston Lions throw. Still just two changes for Melbourne Victory, and just so far one change for Preston Lions. Just looking to the bench, they've got Sardana Kyriakidis, Victoria Momorovsky, Amelia Cabell, and Isabella Trubiano, as Rosie Curtis just goes all the way backwards. They'd also have Adelia Papaleo as well. And that's Massey, who shouts for a bounce off the hand. Looked natural, and Massey brought down and then brings down her team. A position in Jasmine Miller, and it's going to be another free kick for Melbourne Victory. Tam to take. Back to Mackenzie. Then over to Tam, who's got now Percy on the ball in front of her. Deflected off her and gone to Curtis. Over to Mill. And then over to Miller, this time with the turret. And is to get in front there of Yamada. And back now to Tarrant, over to Miller. Backwards to Trainer. Tarrant over to Tam. Long ball by Tam, who finds Rutkovsky, who's not offside, and Ava Harrington knocks the ball onto opposition in Bullich. Here's Doveston now. Over to Trainer, who will knock it over to her captain in Erin Tarrant. Knocked it again to Tarrant with the cross. And Jasmine Miller with her back to goal and goes out for a goal kick. And another player getting ready to come on for Preston Lions. And Rahorison gets it back underway. Tried to be headed on by Massey and cleared again. As Clage goes back to Harrington. Over to Core. And then through to Filipovic. Harrington. And that's a change coming on. Coming on is number 29, Isabella Trubiano. Replacing that of Ava Papaleo. And here's Bullich now. Taken down by Clage. Over to Percy. Finds Massey. Again to Popovic. The turn and goes over to Core to Yamada now. Still Yamada with the driving. And through to Erica Datello out wide. Just the second change for Preston Lions. Of course, Yasmin Popovic coming on earlier in the game. Isabella Trubiano sits in that midfield position. Is Percy, they're back to goal, finds Clage and goes to Harrington now, who will want the ball all the way through, but Trubiano chasing Curtis. Over to Bullich. Down the line to Rutkovsky and out off Rutkovsky and Core, and it will be now a throw. There's Bullich, headed by Klanich. Over to Olsen, to Massey, back to Clage. Over to the top to Olsen and then goes to Clage again. And then taken down, but it's a great slide tackle and it will be a throw in now to Ava Harrington. The throw over the top to Bullock's head. Now to there's a player on the floor. Once again, it's Fee Ioria. Looks like she will be replaced now, but replaced by Anastasia Simic. Scored 19 goals in the 17 games she has played and all competitions this year, and predominantly the under-20s for Melbourne Victory. Of course, quite a pretty prolific goal scorer in that respect. Did play last week against Alamein. Here she is now, the 16-year-old. Goes all the way back to Mackenzie now. There's Tarrant. Tries to find her now. Goes all the way through to Rahorison as Simic chases. And then back now to Rahorison. Just the 5 games she's played in senior women's football, Anastasia Simic. Yet to get a goal in this competition, but very prolific goal scorer in the under-20s as Ava Harrington's got the ball taken off her by Bullich, who slips. Harrington with the cross, headed by Percy over the bar by Valentine Percy. Just 5 minutes left of this Santi Escudero era of Melbourne victory. And Harrington knocks it on to her thrower once again off the Melbourne victory defender. Yeah, it's just a 2-0 lead here for victory in Santi Escudero's final game for the football club before he heads overseas for an opportunity abroad. Jeff Hopkins to take charge beyond as Holly Massey goes looping ball over the top, but cleared by Rutkowski over to Popovic. Simic finds Dolveston and then over to Tarrant, who will be on the ball now. The quick turn. Back over to Mackenzie, who's under pressure by Percy, and goes to Tarrant, to Tam. Back to her fullback. And that's once again slot the ball all the way through to Bullich. To Rutkowski. Does look up and tries to go down the line to Simic, and there will be another throw for Melbourne victory. Shouldn't be that much added on in this game, but 2-0 is the score. As Mule goes with a quick feet down the line as Harrington sends the ball to Tribbiano. Back by Tam, by Mackenzie, headed on by Massey, and then pushed out by Trainer. Headed by Klajic. Back to Percy, to Popovic, and out. Thrown by Bullich. Down the line by Harrington. It will be another victory throw. Not long left either. Here at home, the Matildas. Just about as the rain stops as well. Here's Bullich. Sends it down the line and once again gone the other way. Pushed down to Harrington. It's Trainer. Ball gets past her to Olsen. Knocked on by Tam, but Valentine Percy's there to half the deficit. And Rosie Curtis does exceptionally well there to get in front of it and send it out for a throw. The crowd love that one. But it will be a Preston throw regardless. Over to Massey. And just back out for Ava Harrington to get us underway with a throw. Headed on by Tam and then by Bullich over to Harrington. Led by Mule, and there's Percy. Back to Trainer and then out for a victory throw. Just about 90 minutes played. Back over to Simic. Down the line, back to her. Finds a player out wide, and Jasmine Miller chasing with the turn. Back to Dolveston. with a strike over the bar by Mika Dolliston. And the fourth official's indicated 3 minutes will be added on as minimum into this clash. Nicoletta Soteropoulos. 3 minutes of Shabshaban's 100 remain in her 100th NPL women's game as a match official. Long by Harrison and headed on by Percy. Back the other way, it's potentially a handball, but elbows the call as Tarrant tries to feed Simic, and back the other way now. Through to Miller. Good turn. Still Miller. Over to Null. Again out wide. And then to Simic, who's offside. And over to Popovic and back to Harrison. To Yamada now. Back to Popovic, over to Klajic. And then long ball to Nat Olsen, who feared and gets a deflection. Around the keeper, taken down, and the follow-up is over the bar. No penalties to call by Shabshaban, and goal kick was the call, and not long left either. And it's a long ball by Tam. Pushed on and out by Harrington. There's Bullich. Down to Klajic. And then Olsen. Percy. Not long left to get something out of this game for Preston Lions. And Percy feeds the ball down the line to Olsen, who pushes Train off the ball. And that's full time here at the home of the Matildas. Melbourne victory 2 to Preston Lions 0. And that's full time on Shabshaban's 100th NPL women's game. And Santi Escudero gets all 3 points on his final game as head coach of this Melbourne Victory women's side, and the post Santi Escudero era begins. As Flo Iria and Melbourne Victory get all 3 points here at home of the Matildas. We'll be back for more NPL action tomorrow as South Melbourne take on Caroline Springs. George Cross at Lakeside at 7:30 p.m. And more NPL women's and men's action on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. Next week, I'll be in Ross Papadakis. Thanks for joining me this Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy the rest of the week.